Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Town of Sheffield Select Board to order for July 18th, 2022. I do want to let you know that this meeting is being recorded by CTSB. Thank you, CTSB. Anyone else can record the meeting by just notifying the chair. We have, as our first item, the approval of one set of minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes of June 16th, 2022.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Second of all, we have the introduction of our new highway superintendent. That is David Ruah. Did I get it close? Excellent. Dave, would you please come up to the microphone and I'll ask Rhonda to take it from here. If you wanted to introduce Dave further, give a little bit about his background. He's been here for...
Sure. So he's been here about a month, and he's taken over the highway department, and things are running smoothly. He's learning by fire, I guess you could say. We had a tree crash through the garage at the highway department last week, so he's working on that. He's working on some of the catch-up for the potholes. I know that everybody has an issue in their own neighborhood, and we're trying to get caught up with those. We do have a paving plan. I'll let Dave, if you want to talk about the paving that's going to happen this year.
Yeah, we'll be doing the county road.
Right.
And direct date yet. That's the first thing on this county road. And we're thinking about doing lime kiln.
Oh, excellent. There are going to be so many people that are going to be happy
Yeah.
to have that section of road which you can lose your car on.
The
Yeah.
bridge on Sheffield, Egremont Road, with the big
Great.
dip in it, that, and parts of West Road.
And I know you've been doing lots of potholes. And you did
Lots of
them all
potholes.
on Water Farm Road. You've been doing them on
Boardman.
Boardman Street. You've been
Boardman.
doing them all over
Kellogg.
town.
Kellogg, trying to catch up on a lot of stuff that, there's only two of us that, for a
You
while
wanna
there, so.
tell us anything about your background, or tell the town anything about your background?
Yeah, I was
Why you decided to come to
construction for
Sheffield?
30 years. All kinds of road construction, pipe work, sewer, water, storm drains. And I worked at a water company for 10 years, maintaining all the mains, installations, repairs, and got into a little bit of management there. And from there, I went to Segal, Sand and Gravel, and I was bored out of my mind. Needed a challenge, so I think I picked a good one. To get a challenge from day one, but it's good.
We're glad to have you, Dave.
And if anybody's got any questions, or I have an open door policy, you come down and see me down in the garage, leave a message, I'll get back to you. And we'll go from there. We're gonna try to get things going here,
Great.
fix
I've
that.
heard good things already about
I'm
you,
not gonna make
Dave.
any promises, but
People
do
have
our
said that
best.
you're very responsive to phone calls, and that you return them and you get things done, which is great. Bob, do you have any comments you want to add to this?
Other than welcome.
thank you.
Hey, Dean, anything else?
Happy to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. And you do not have to wait through the rest of the meeting.
No?
No.
I will, I'm gonna hang out.
All right.
Haven't been to.
Our next item is appointment announcements for fiscal year '23. And Rhonda, would you like to make those announcements?
Sure. So we will announce these positions, and then action will take place at the board's next meeting on August 1st. So for Council on Aging, we have Karen Chamberlain, who is looking for a 3-year appointment. And then on the Cultural Council, there are many openings on there. They can have as many as 20. So all 3 of these would be eligible for appointment if the board chooses to do so. They would be 3-year terms. Frances Roth, Jessica Treat, and Phyllis Webb have all asked to be appointed to that.
Now, personally, I think 20 is almost unmanageable.
That's what I was thinking.
And it also makes it very hard for a quorum to do any business. So I don't know if this board has in mind a number that you would like to target.
Well, how many people are serving
That's what I
currently?
was gonna say. I can look that up for you and let you all know,
Okay.
and have that information before the next meeting.
Okay. And also, Rhonda, if we could just make sure that not everybody's getting 3 years and then we're not staggered.
I think we are staggered.
We
but
are
I will let
staggered.
you know on
Okay,
that one.
great.
Because
All
we
right.
might have already appointed some.
I think we appointed somebody.
I'll take a look and
Yeah.
have that laid out for you. at your
And we'll
next
have that
meeting.
for our next meeting. Well, thank you, everyone, for applying. And then our next item is that we actually have some appointments to make for this year. And Rhonda, would you like to announce those, and then
Sure.
we'll see if the board
So
wants
these
to take action?
positions and applicants were announced at the July 5th meeting. So we have Commission on Disabilities, Gail Mullen. Cultural Council, oh, here you go, here's 2 for the Cultural Council. Joseph Kaloje and Sally Haver. Fire Chief David Ulrich. Historical Commission Kathy Orlando. And Zoning Board of Appeals Eric Carlson. But Eric is only looking for a 1-year appointment at this point on the zoning board. Normally it would be 3. He's currently on the zoning board, but he's requested only a 1 year for this appointment.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve all of them that were just read, and Eric's for 1 year instead of 3.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I do think we need to address the 3-year terms on, now we've got 5 people on the cultural council all going off at the same time,
Right,
so.
so we'll stagger the next round depending on what you decide your number is
Okay.
going to be for next time.
Also, I'm wondering if we could, I wonder if it would be possible to, after the vote's been taken, to make a kind of a secondary motion that, depending on how that staggering looks, that we may change some of these to 2-year.
Yeah, let's address it when we know what we've
We'll
got.
address it all at 8-1. Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
I know that there were at least 3 people that had, because on the cultural council, the state only allows you to serve, I believe it's 2 3-year terms, and then you have to get off. So I think there was at least 3 who definitely had to get off, and
Okay.
so you have 2 of them here.
Okay.
I think you're
And
good.
if, I know that there's vacancies on the historical commission, and I'm just curious if we have any commissions or boards where we don't have enough people to have a quorum. Because if there are, we should put special emphasis on that. I don't know that we do.
I don't think that we do, because even with the smaller number, you know, if there's only 3 people out of 5, then you'd have to have 2. You can
Right,
still
that's a
have your
quorum, they just have
meetings,
to all
so.
be there. Okay, great, all right. I think there's still vacancies aplenty.
There is, and that's kept up to date on the website.
Okay, so if anyone is still looking to serve your community, just go to the website and see what's available. Thank you, everyone who was appointed tonight and those who put in for positions, and we'll take it up at our next meeting. So the next item is discussion possible action regarding electrical permit fee increases. And we have a note from Michael Lining, who is our wiring inspector, and he holds another position or 2? I'm just trying to remember. Just, there's the electrical inspector.
Just for Sheffield, I mean,
Just,
he
no,
holds it
no,
in
some
other
of them
towns,
hold
yes.
different positions, more than one position. And we're currently charging, as Rhonda has noted, $60 for a wiring inspection permit. And Egremont is 70, and Alford is 75. And he didn't specifically ask for a specific increase, but he is noting fuel cost and the cost of bookkeeping.
He didn't make
This
a
time.
recommendation.
He would be happy with 70, if the board would like to go 70. I'm sure he's not going to turn down 75, but he'd be happy with 70.
I think it'd be well worth the 75 at these days amounts and fuel costs.
You
That's
know,
what I was thinking
I'm
as
kind of
well.
with you. Then we're not going to have to look at this in
Yep.
likely 1 year.
That's-
Would someone care to make a motion? Rhonda, go
Could
ahead.
we have an effective date on that that gives us a chance to get everything updated? I know it seems like a long way off, but maybe September 1st or even August 15th would be a help, whatever.
Which would you prefer?
September.
Okay. I make a motion that we make an increase of $75 for an inspection starting September 1.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the next one is discussion possible action regarding lock-in prices for fuels. And we have a spreadsheet in our packet on that. Rhonda, would you like to go over this with us?
Sure, so what you have is a sheet from the county bid and the lock-in prices, and you'll notice that Maravido doesn't serve all of the towns because different, like Lipton might have taken some of the other towns, but Maravido is the only one that would offer a lock-in price for this year. And so you'll see what the prices are per gallon. I've circled them down below. This is a decision this year that I didn't want to make myself. Normally, I just make the decision and lock it in. But I wanted to discuss this with the board. It's all kind of up in the air. I would tend to say that we shouldn't lock in this year, but I wanted consensus or at least opinions from the Board of Selectmen.
What are the current prices we're paying right now?
These are like old, like $2 and something. We've just finished the fiscal year. I'm not sure that we've gotten anything at this point, any deliveries that aren't going off of the old lock-in price.
I think my last heating oil bill was $6.29. I don't use diesel, so,
Heating oil and diesel are similar.
yeah. And I'm just curious, Rhonda, we also seem to be one of the few that's locked in on kerosene.
Kerosene comes with diesel.
Okay, all right, okay.
I would say these numbers look high. I
Yeah.
would not be inclined to lock in at this.
Just take our chances and see where it goes.
I was going to say the same thing. I think prices are starting to come down a little bit, and, I mean, we're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't, really. You know, I mean, if we don't lock in and prices go up, we're going to feel awful, but if we do and they go down, we're going to feel worse.
The only thing, and I'm not trying to advocate one way or the other, with lock-in, you know what your number's going to be, and you can budget it. That's, to me, is the only advantage. You may leave money on the table, but you do know what your number is going to be, unless you use more than what's allocated. But,
I mean, our budget has already set, and, you know, we tried to predict going forward. Who knows that even if we locked in at these prices, if we would make it with the budget that we have.
Yeah. I'm going to make a motion that we don't lock in.
I'll second that.
okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, we're all in the boat together. All right, we have a motion and a second. We have no further discussion. All those in favor of not
Aye.
locking in the prices? Aye. All right, come back in a year and we'll see where we are, right? Next, we have an update on our transfer station stickers, and Rhonda, I'll turn to you again.
Sure. So we mailed out transfer station sticker letters on Friday. So we've had a few people who came in before Friday. If you did and you got your sticker and you end up getting a letter, you don't have to call us, just throw it away. We know that you've already gotten your sticker. So this year, the stickers are going to be $190 and $135 for anyone over 70. That's if you purchase it by August 15th. If you purchase it after August 15th, the price goes to $205 and $150 for anyone 70 or older. Now, I know a lot of places consider 60, 65 as the discount, but Sheffield has always chosen 70, and we didn't change it this year. With the sticker this year, you'll get 2 coupons. That can be used for mattress recycling or disposal of couches, love seats, the bigger futon mattresses, those types of things. Some of them can go in the mattress recycling. If they're dirty or contaminated, they have to go in bulky waste, and that's going to cost you a couple coupons to get that This year, for the first time, we're going to have somebody here, right here in this room, on Tuesdays from 12 to 2, and Fridays from 2 to 4 to sell stickers. We're hoping that the bulk of the people will come in during those hours so that we have someone dedicated sitting here selling stickers, because it gets a bit overwhelming and interrupt-driven a lot. So everyone should get their stickers. I told Frank he can put the sign up. You have the sign up?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm assuming we'll see a lot of traffic tomorrow afternoon.
You mentioned for just recycling only.
We can do recycling only too. The price for that is $80, I believe. And you can get your second sticker for 10
I don't think it's on the list now.
on the letter. I think it's on the back. Is it on the back of the letter? Oh no, it's right here. Recycling only stickers may be purchased for $80. They allow access to all recycling programs, but not the trash compactor.
And that doesn't come with any coupons,
It does not.
but they can buy coupons.
They can.
Yes. Okay.
And this year the stickers are gray and the coupons are gray.
And the cutover day is August 15th,
It is.
and the sticker should be shown should be adhered to the vehicle.
But his
What's
wife
that?
hit him, so it wasn't pretty. We're just laughing at Frank getting beat up by Eileen.
I'm not happy with the gray stickers because 1920, we had gray stickers. And these are almost identical. It's going to be real hard for us to keep track of them.
I think we put Frank in charge of colors next year.
Job security, Frank. Keep you busy.
It's impressive you can remember 1920.
Well, if anyone has kept their sticker, let's just scrape it off. You know, we're gonna have to, I guess, in some way, admire them and then talk to them. And for those people who are not going to use the transfer station, the drill's the same.
It is. You have to tell us what you're doing with your trash.
Great. Are there any questions from the public on this, other than displeasure with the color? Okay, Frank. All right. We have a relatively short agenda tonight, so we're going to go to board member items, and we'll go to Bob.
The only one I have tonight is that, not to be surprised if you happen to see our firemen with shaved heads. They're doing it in support of one of their own and another person that is very close to the fire department. I'm not going to mention names, but because of those two, they're going to show their support by shaving their heads also. So if you see a bunch of firemen with shaved heads, don't be surprised. It's just to support their community and their friends.
Okay. Anything else, Bob?
Nope, that's it.
Nadine?
I don't have anything this tonight. Thank you, Renee.
Rhonda, are you going to talk about the grant you got?
No, I didn't plan on it.
Okay, so I'm going to just ask Rhonda when we're into town administrator items to talk about that. I have no items. Town administrator items?
So we've received a small bridge grant, $500,000, to continue work on Kelsey Road. We do have to do some work out there that will move some electrical poles. And I can't give you a start date, but we were lucky enough to receive that. We also had one in, and I'm sorry I don't have the paper in front of me, for a different bridge, but we were denied that one, but they encouraged us to resubmit that next year. So maybe we will be lucky enough to get another one next year.
Well, congratulations. I think $500,000 is worth celebrating.
Absolutely.
No
Yes.
matter what it goes to. The bridges have a tendency to really eat money. They take a lot of money. Anything else, Rhonda?
No.
Public comments? Would anyone like to? Let's start with George. If everyone would go up to the mic, announce their name and their address, and then speak loudly so we can all hear you, we'll go from there.
Yeah, George O'Lane, Foley Road. What bridge on Kelsey are you working at?
Well, George, you ask me that every time, and I'll send it over
Bridge,
to you.
the $500, is that for Dry Brook or Kelsey, or Snob?
I believe it's
Dry
Dry Brook.
It's Dry Brook.
Okay, okay, I was just curious. I was wondering if we had received any answers from the questions left with the town attorney by the planning board.
I'm sorry?
When the two members of the planning board had a meeting with the town council,
I couldn't-
we never got, well, there were some questions that he was going to get back to us on, and we haven't heard back.
So, Rhonda, is that your issue? I know it's not our board. We weren't in that
I'll
meeting.
follow up with him again, George. I don't know why he's dragging his feet in those answers, but I'll talk to him again tomorrow.
The other thing on the discussion guide for the permits, there was a request to take out certain sections about marijuana density, et cetera. Did those suggestions come from the attorney, or were that from you people?
Are you talking about the deliberation guide?
Correct.
Yes. It didn't come from the attorney.
It did not.
It came from the board because those things are not in the zoning bylaws. You just can't stick what you want to in your deliberation guide. Now, if you want us to send it to the town attorney to get that answer, is that what you're requesting, or what?
Well, I believe that's what was requested when it was given to you people at the same time.
Well, I don't believe that that is the case. Rhonda?
So we had a conversation that deliberation guide is an internal document.
Right.
So it was the board's decision or consensus that we weren't going to spend legal on having the attorney
Correct.
go over a document that stays internal just for our reference when writing the decision.
But the idea of,
I was just asking because the question was broached to us, okay, where the request was to take that out, okay?
It was from our joint discussion with the planning board, and I thought the point was made that if you're deliberating on that, you cannot deliberate on what you want to deliberate unless the town has approved it
Okay.
at a town meeting, and those items have not been approved at a town meeting.
Okay, all right.
So
I
that
just
was what we
asking,
discussed.
I was asked a question, and I said I'll ask, and so that's all I'm doing. Okay, the other thing I'd like to know is what the town is planning on doing about the black swallow work that's along Barnum Street, particularly by the rest area, or the parking area for Drury's Preserve.
Can you repeat what we're doing with what?
The black swallowwort. Okay, it's a vine much like bittersweet, but it's got a larger leaf and it's got a pod on it, which is now putting out with viable seeds in it, much like milkweed does. And now is not the time to mow it, because those seeds will germinate and it'll spread even more, particularly if they're on the equipment that the town has. And, you know, I've had some on my property, and the Nature Conservancy has come in and plucked it because they didn't have permission early enough to spray it. All right.
So, Rhonda?
So I believe Dave has a meeting with someone to discuss some invasive species. We'll have him add that to his list.
Okay. Usually the Nature Conservancy has, I mean, they've come before the Conservation Commission with huge
Correct.
plans. So I'm just kind of curious why the Nature Conservancy, since that's, I believe, who manages the Drury Preserve, has not come forward with this request.
Unless they haven't noticed it.
They're pretty much out there,
Yes.
okay? I mean, we had
I know.
they're back in Sheffield, and we had one of their project managers at a Concom meeting for 2 meetings going over their invasive species control plans. So I don't know if you were there, Bob, at
I
that
was.
meeting, but I'm just surprised that they haven't brought this forward.
I mean, it may have been in the
Okay.
list of areas that they covered, I don't know. I just curious if the town was going to contact, because it's on town property, if the side of the road is town property.
Thank you
you know,
for bringing it forward.
Because I've had the stuff on my place, and they just came in and we had to pull the pot pull the top of the stem off where the pods are and put that in a bag so it could be burned or disposed of in a non-invasive way. And if the town just mows through there and catches that stuff on the machine, they're just gonna spread it further down the road.
Yep.
And I got enough invasives to have, rather than have that machine come and spread more of it. I mean,
It might be interesting, Dave, after you've had your conversations, to have a conversation about invasive species. We've got, what is it, Japanese knotweed, that it just takes over everything, and we've got that on Boardman Street, and I bet we have it on other places. But maybe this is a discussion that we should look at in a
Japanese,
larger frame.
there's a damn stilt grass too, the
Yes.
Japanese stilt grass. It's,
Right.
I mean, I got it from foresters that came off of Mount Washington where they had it and they didn't bother to clean their equipment, you know, and it's all through my woods now.
George, any other comments? Thank you for what you've told us tonight.
Yeah. And I was wondering, when is the town going to start mowing the sides of the road?
As soon as we
Good
get caught up on the roads.
I
We're
think
still hiring, George, we're still adding to the staff.
And I think everybody's working just about as hard as they can, okay? It's not forgotten, and it's trying not to be neglected. Some things just come before that. And you have you have Dave's phone number if you want to talk with him and get the answer straight from the highway superintendent, okay?
I did put in a call to the town shed, I have yet to hear back.
Okay, all right. Anyone else? Pat?
Excuse me, thank you. Pat Levine, 261 East Main Street. I have two items. One is that the Board of Health has tasked itself with receiving Narcan training, and we will be doing that at our routine meeting in August, although that meeting time has not yet been set because we have new members and we need to adjust it. But we also wanted to invite the Select Board for that training if they're interested, or other town employees for Narcan training. Anyone with the town is welcome to attend that. If they would please give me a call or send me an email. They can call the Board of Health number at Town Hall, so we know how many people might be interested in it. I think it's important.
Pat, is that for general public training?
At this point, we want to do it for the town and the town employees. We can schedule a public one at another time, but we'd like to get it staged in a sense. Anyone can ask for training at the Rural Recovery Center in Great Barrington, and he's happy to come out and talk with groups, with the Rotary Group or any other group that wants to have training. But we're doing this specifically for the Board of Health and whoever else in town is interested as part of the government.
How are you communicating this? I'm just wondering if town employees were to get a letter from the Board of Health saying that there's Narcan training, whether they're going to feel that that's mandatory training, which I don't believe it is.
No.
So
No. It's an invitation for anyone who may be interested to obtain training.
okay.
And when is this training being scheduled?
It will be in August at one of our regular meetings, but we haven't yet set those meetings and won't until we have an interim meeting next week, which isn't yet posted. but
So it'll be an
will
evening
Wednesday.
meeting, it won't pull people away from their
Correct.
jobs during the day?
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct. The second item is, and I'm glad we're being recorded because I just want the public to know that the elevator is still out at the library, but that if anyone has a need for materials, to please call the library. Tell them what you need. They'll work with you and bring it out to your car if that's necessary, to be sure that you have materials and items that you may want. So please feel free to call the library and we'll do what we can to
Right.
get the stuff to you.
It's very accommodating. Thank you, Pat. Do we have any update on the parts? No. Okay. All right. Any other public comment? Yes, sir?
Can I provide a copy to you folks?
Sure. Just,
I don't want to labor this, it's just my questions. It's
Okay.
easier for me sometimes to just put it in writing. So I'm Rick McDowell, I live at 78 Ashley Falls Road. And I don't know who's jurisdictional and who's not on this, but my wife and I live on 7A across from Webster's, and we've been there for 22 years. We're now at the point with the marijuana odor that, you know, we're having to shut our windows. We can't sit outside. It's getting nauseous. We get headaches. And again, I outlined this in here. I've already approached the Board of Health, so those good folks talked to me last week, and they'll do whatever they need to do, or who has jurisdiction. I wanted to engage the Select Board on a couple of questions that I listed out here. Given the overwhelming smell and the various complaints throughout the town, my questions are this, is, if I may, will the town, in my particular situation, will the town engage Mr. Weld and others considered grandfather on behalf of the community and ask them if they would, in good faith, meet and attain the new bylaws and standards on odors as businesses within our community, knowing that there is impact from their operations? My question is if you folks would take that to task. The second item is on my letter is, would the town consider utilizing funds and taxes received from the growers to assist those grandfathered to meet the new bylaws and standards for odors? If you have all this money in the coffers, could it be put to use towards that? Another consideration could be to help them move to greenhouses instead of outdoor growings, and that could probably help the smell, particularly if they come up to speed with your new bylaws on filtration and so forth. So a consideration, and again, I'm not reading this verbatim. Third question would be is, would the town consider utilizing funds and taxes received from the growers to provide a stipend or tax relief to homeowners impacted by these growers? My last question is if a grandfathered marijuana grower seeks to sell or modify their license or business ownership, will the new owner or licensees be required to bring the operation up to compliance with the new bylaws? This would not be unlike a homeowner needing to meet Title V updates when selling a pre-Title V property to get along with laws. So I'm curious as to if there's modifications, which I believe there's one going on, if the new licensees or owners are going to be required to come up to the new standards and bylaws for odor control and growth. I would highly recommend it and hope that we did the due diligence to do that. I'm asking the town board and the town administrator to carry this forward. It doesn't seem like anybody's engaged them to say, okay, you specific three have been grandfathered, but there's a community outcrying in this, and perhaps we can find some common ground by talking with each other and working towards getting them up to speed, particularly at the point where, and I use the analogy in here, if I just moved to town and bought a house near the railroad tracks and then ran downtown here and started complaining about the noise and the hours of operation, or if I bought a house next to a farm and then I wanted to complain about the smell and so forth, the town would probably tell me, sorry, they're here first and this is the situation. You should have done your due diligence first. The reverse problem of that is that we as homeowners, and particularly what I refer to as now the hemp highway on 7A, we're down there and we've lived there all our lives, paid our taxes, paid our dues, and we're affected by this. I have no issue with the sale of marijuana. That's not my fight. But the problem is I'm impacted by it. Now it's physical health and it's a concern. If you have this money in the coffers, running them out of town is not the objective. They're a viable business, okay? But coming up to a standard, we should work with them to get them to that standard, and I believe having you folks engage them and ask for that goodwill. Mr. Weld's received a lot of goodwill from this town, okay, in his other operation for liquor, and that does nothing to do with this, okay? But this town has been very good to these businesses, okay? And you're hearing a lot of complaints from people when I spoke to the building inspector and stuff, and members of the board here, Nadine recently and some others in the past. It's a big issue and nobody's undertaking it. It's affecting quality of life, it's affecting health, and is it going to affect taxes, or, will I get a little abatement or something? I know I can apply for that, so I'll deal with that at a different time. But again, what's my property going to be worth in a few years if I decide to retire and take it south? So that's what I'm asking you folks to take a look at. I'm not here to debate it and stuff. I did, Nadine has my business card to get back to me. I would hope that you folks would give some consideration to it and have some conversations, but I think it's time to take it to the next level, at least for those grandfathered, and ask them, and again, goodwill. Put them on the spot. If they want to be good neighbors, if they want to be good citizens, then come up to standards. They're making money, they're paying money. if we have to back contribute to help it with some of this money to get everybody in town, appeased of the situation, it's probably not a bad investment at this point.
Well, thank you for bringing this forward to us. It is something that we will look at very seriously. It's, again, I keep saying it, but it's very unfortunate that when the town had the opportunity to put in a moratorium for a year that would have not allowed any grandfathered marijuana institutions, the votes weren't there. So this town voted down a moratorium which would have prevented any grandfather institutions.
I understand.
So I'm sorry about that, and
I would
that's,
be confused as to why, and again, if it wasn't written in the bylaws, why you can't make an existing entity come up to the new standards and give them a grace period, a period of time that was formatted to say, okay, you were here first, we get it, but these are the new laws, we need
Well-
everybody up to speed. You've got 3 years.
the zoning bylaws are very particular. You can talk to a lawyer about that, but everyone who is grandfathered, whether their porch was out of compliance when the zoning bylaws went in 95, they're still grandfathered, and they're going to be grandfathered forever. So it applies to uses and houses and on, but we're not here to debate that. I just want to tell you that it's not that simple,
get it.
unfortunately, but I think you bring forward some very good points, and this board is going to consider this very carefully, the thoughts that you've brought forward.
Great. One question, if I may. In reference to if somebody's changing license or ownership and so forth, are they required to come up to standards? Is that something that's taken up here?
No, once they're grandfathered, they're grandfathered.
Really?
You're grandfathered in perpetuity. That porch is grandfathered in perpetuity. The use of the land is grandfathered in perpetuity until it is abandoned for a particular number of years.
So if we had somebody in town, a business that was giving off toxic emissions or something like that, they would be absolved by?
Well, one, they wouldn't be in town because they wouldn't be allowed. So if you have someone who's giving off toxic emissions, it would be good to take it to the building inspector, because if they are regulated by our zoning bylaws,
that was just
not
a general
utility. Well, we have against hazardous waste. We have a lot of things in our zoning or general bylaws that you can't do. So certain uses are not even allowed from the get-go. But we will take this under very serious consideration, and I think you've brought up some very good points, and I don't know if Nadine or Bob would like to make some comments.
I think you've presented some really good questions, Rick. I think they're very thoughtful and well presented, and I definitely will encourage the board to take this up under future work and see if there's any way that we can, try to come to a happy medium somewhere.
Very good. Thank you for your time.
I also would like to say you made very valid points. We were a little undereducated in the beginning when some of these were passed. The questions of smell and odor were brought up. They were kind of glazed over, very mildly as far as I'm concerned, because you are correct. When it pollinates, it is a very strong odor down 7A or 7, depending on which way the wind is blowing at the time.
Strong enough to be a health concern, so does that take it to a new or different level?
I do want to make it very clear, though. When the moratorium wasn't passed, and the planning board then put together marijuana bylaws that they brought, I believe, to the next town meeting, the town was not in a position to regulate these businesses. They were, by state law, if it was a manufacturing facility, or it was a retailing facility, or it was a growing facility, by state law, which again, this town voted by 66%, they were given the right to get a building permit and proceed. So there were no controls on them once the moratorium was not passed, until the zoning bylaws were put in place by town voters. So it's not a subject that somebody was remiss. Those were the rules of the game. And they were dictated by the state, who seemed in a very quick hurry to get this industry going. And a lot of voters supported it. without, I think, reading what all was in that item that we voted on in a state election. So there is no blame, either the planning board or the building inspector or this select board. It was kind of the Wild West. There were no rules until they were put in place by the voters. The only rules were the state voters, the state rules, and that referendum was written by the industry. So we all share some of the consequences of what happened. But we're going to look at this, and there's some things that we probably legally can do. There may be some things I know that it's likely we can't legally do. But you have made a very good argument, and we really thank you. Everyone on this board thanks you for bringing this forward.
Thank you for your time.
You are the first person who has brought it forward in such a thoughtful, formal way.
Great, thank you.
Thanks,
Okay,
Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to make a comment under public speak? No? All right, well, thank you all for attending this evening. If there's no other business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We'll have no discussion unless someone wants to. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This ends our select board meeting tonight. Thank you.